Jim Sullivan, 2 Trent Road. I've been to a lot of meetings in 20 years. Some meetings are great, some meetings are bad, some meetings are horrible. This meeting is probably toward the top of the meetings I've attended. You got down to business, you addressed questions, opened up debate, and encouraged public input through public surveys and opening up the ability to communicate and educate the citizens on the most important decision this town will ever make is the education of the kids. Public servants, and I don't think we're politicians, we're public servants. Public servants have a difficult task. And when public servants have to establish some criteria, it can cause concern. Case in point, there was a criteria for the previous contract that required case by case. That was kind of an open-ended vision. There was no clear-cut numbers. Then it became hardship, which became even a more tenuous task to agree with because people kept saying, well, what is hardship? Well, unfortunately, hardship was in the eye of the beholder or the eyes of the school board. And that was caused the end, because clearly Manchester was not living up to their bargain. No doubt about it, breach was needed. We got a contract, and because that was concerned, parents wanted to go elsewhere. So we got a contract now for 4 years, which now is very limited. Is pretty much open-ended. Parents can go to Manchester, or they can go elsewhere for 4 years if they still apply through the JCP policy. So that's good. So you need to be cautionary when you go from a somewhat restrictive contract to an open-ended contract to now you're moving to a restrictive contract. Conceptually, that's a concern. And I encourage Dr. Littlefield and the board encourage him to try to negotiate with Pinkerton with a contract that has very limited restrictions. Selling something that is needed is tough. This building 10 years ago, there was no doubt, no question that we needed a middle school. Old Memorial School was at capacity, no question about it. But even with public forums, press releases, discussion and everything, that bond failed the first time. So they had to go back to the drawing board, even after doing yeoman's work to debate it, to come up. So you don't want to assume things, because I make an assumption that I was going to be on the school board again a year ago. Don't make an assumption, even though you think you're doing the job right. All right, so it's going to be a difficult task. So I applaud you for seeking input from the citizens on the survey. I applaud you for using all options to communicate what's going on. All right. So again, it's not an easy task to be a school board member or any member of any board, but the information needs to be out there. All you can do is do your best you can and make arrangements so if things don't work out as some of you hope, or some of people hope, that there's a backup. So a lot of work to do. Start with this, and I think you've been starting the last couple of meetings. We're over the dark period. We're going to the light, but it's not there yet. So it's tough work to do. Don't try to come with a contract that's restrictive, because if I was an odds man now, not just questioning Pinkerton's value or anything, that it's going to be a tough sell. So keep up educating. Thank you.
Good evening, Mark Beagle, 42 Main Street. Just a few points from discussions tonight. I agree with Mr. Sullivan that it was a very good meeting for you guys tonight. But that's no reason for you guys to be patting on yourselves on the back for work that you should have been doing all along. But I'm glad you're finally there. I did want to respond to a comment that one of the school board members made about who should be receiving a survey and who should not. Just because a parent is divorced, and even if it's not, the person is not living in town, why wouldn't a parent of a student be allowed an opinion regarding the education of their children, even if they don't live in town? Don't they have a right to their own opinion about their own child? Unless there is some restriction that they should not have any custody of their children or any opinion regarding their education of their children, I think they should still have be sent that survey with that duplicate email address. Seems to me a sibling is what a parent feels a sibling is. And that should be also resulting in common sense. Yes, I'm sure there are all kinds of scenarios and alternative lifestyles, but a sibling seems to be obvious to me. I personally want to thank Mr. Pearl for taking the lead over the last several months through some very rough criticism of him and taking a leadership role. Because when we look at this, he is the one that's bringing up the ideas. He's the one that's bringing up the scenarios, the caveats, the surveys, and the forums. He's the one that's suggesting these things. I'm glad all the others of you have finally come around to where it should have been months ago. Things that were voted down in motions before, 2 to 3 or 1 to 4, are now unanimous votes tonight for things that were motioned by Mr. Pearl months ago. So thank you for finally understanding that those motions earlier months ago were the right thing to do. I also found it interesting tonight that special education tuition budget adjustments were made tonight when last year the budget committee was criticized for reducing the sped education budget line, bottom line budget no less, which so I mean it doesn't matter. But tonight they chose to reduce the sped tuition tonight when we had already reduced it and received a lot of complaints by that from people in this audience. So just wanted to clarify that I can understand why it was done, but in a bottom line budget, again, it doesn't matter. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all the hard work that you're finally getting around to doing. Thank you.